most common images of the devil is that of the fallen angel, Satan, in human form. Has the devil walked amongst us? Does he walk amongst us still? On the opposite coast to the location of the Son of Sam's reign of terror lies Benedict Canyon, Los Angeles. In 1969, it was the scene of one of the most infamous and brutal murders in U.S. history, and one that many believe was the work of the devil. On the night of the 8th of August, Charles Manson directed some members of his cult, known as the Family, to 10050 Cielo Drive. There in the dead of night, they slaughtered 5 people, including Sharon Tate, the 8 months pregnant wife of film director Roman Polanski. As they began their ferocious onslaught, one of the gang, Charles Tex Watson, said, "I am the devil, and I come to do the devil's work." His barbaric act was directed by Manson. So if Satan has a human face, does it look like this? On that fateful summer night, Tate was entertaining friends at her house in Benedict Canyon. The happy party was to end brutally at the hands of Charles Watson, Susan Atkins, and other members of Manson's self-styled family. Police officer Robert Burbridge was one of the first on the scene the next morning.
August 8th, 1969, I was a Los Angeles police officer working West Los Angeles Division, and I received a radio call at about 9 o'clock in the morning of a man down, which generally was a drunk or a dead body. The address of the call was 10051 Cielo Drive. When we got there, the maid was hysterical. The first person I saw was Stephen Perrin. He was in a white Rambler. He was dead laying on the front seat. We observed 2 more bodies laying on the front lawn. The look on Abigail Folger's face was, I'll never forget that the rest of my life. We went into the house, went from room to room, ended up in the living room where we observed Sharon Tate and J.C. Bring, the hairdresser, laying on the living room floor with a tremendous amount of blood pool around each body, a rope around both their necks as if they were both hung by the same rope. I've never seen people with that many stab wounds in my life.
Prosecuting attorney Vincent Bugliosi remembers killer Susan Atkins' confession well.
Susan Atkins told me, she was cooperating with me, that Sharon said, "Please let me live so I can have my baby." And Susan told me that she told Sharon, "Look, bitch, I don't have any mercy on you. You're going to die." And Susan Atkins said, "You know, you really have to love people a lot to do what I did to Sharon Tate."
We then went out the front door, and the front door had the word pig written on it in blood. Probably the total time I spent on the police department, I never saw anything so gruesome in my life.
The investigation was hampered by a lack of obvious motive for the slayings. Rumors abounded that the murderers were part of a satanic cult. For Officer Burbridge, a return visit to the scene evokes horrific memories.
It just overwhelms me to think that how, with all this beauty here and tranquility, that how could a murder of such magnitude ever take place in this area? The only thing I could even begin to think would cause it would be something demonic.
At the time these murders happened, it sent shivers down the spine of Tinseltown. It was horrific. You couldn't have created a more brutal murder. It really scared people. It frightened Hollywood.
The man responsible for this climate of fear was Charles Manson, an ex-convict who many of his followers described as having magical and hypnotic powers.
The first time I saw him, he was walking from the Inyo County Jail to the courthouse. He was a little scruffy guy, 5 feet 2 inches tall, kind of hunchback, long hair, beard, didn't look very imposing. But I had already read enough about him that he had this incredible power to get other people to commit murder for him.
There was this sort of satanic quality to the murders, and Charlie Manson was seen as like this religious cult leader who told them that they were committing these acts of murder for a greater good, and also he told them that he wanted to ignite a race war in America, and that he wanted to kill all these rich white people so that other people would assume it was done by blacks.
He surrounded himself with young kids from average American homes. They thought Manson was wonderful. They thought he was the second coming of Christ.
Possessed of a strong force of will and a commanding personal presence, Manson often referred to himself as both Christ and the devil. Or was he the Antichrist? His chosen disciples were impressionable young people searching for life's meaning.
I think the Manson murders still resonate today because not only was it a very gruesome and very high-profile murder, but Charlie Manson, he's an evil guy, but we're fascinated by him. And he's got the swastika, ingrained in his forehead, and he's still ranting about things you can't understand, but it captures our fascination because you feel like when you're looking at this man, you're looking right at evil. If I were to show you the embodiment of all that is bad in this world, take a look at this man.
If Satan was behind the crimes at Cielo Drive, does his presence linger there still? The area of Benedict Canyon has been redeveloped in the years since the massacre, but for some of its residents, an overwhelming feeling of menace and evil pervades. Since 2002, David Oman has lived in a house just 200 feet from Sharon Tate's home. His experiences in the last 3 years have convinced him that the horrific events of that night in 1969 still resonate to this day.
As recently as a week ago, I was down on the 3rd level with a friend watching a film, and we both heard the sound of a gentleman speaking to someone. I assumed it was my telephone answering machine going off. And I went and picked up the phone, assuming I'd be picking up the phone and hearing somebody talking on it, and the phone was dead.
Is there a satanic energy present in this house? Could these incidents suggest that a malevolent power has made Cielo Drive its home? Parapsychologist Dr. Barry Taff has been investigating the house at Cielo Drive for some time.
There is, under Benedict Canyon, a very old fault line which has not moved in the recent past. The readings we've gotten here with instruments are so high as to be potentially biologically hazardous. In the midst of this, people are seeing apparitions. Objects are appearing and disappearing. Furniture is moving around. Voices are being heard. It makes one wonder whether these energies could produce an aberrant form of behavior, induce violence, belligerence, malevolence, and make people do things they might not do otherwise.
Was it Satan's presence that made the Manson family commit the murders at 10050 Cielo Drive? Does he remain there still? David Oman has brought in a team of demon hunters. Would they be able to identify Satan's presence?
5.
A traditional way to contact the other side is with a Ouija board. This method is feared by many as it can arouse malevolent forces, but the demon hunters are determined to find out who or what is behind events in Benedict Canyon.
Were there satanic influences in Charles Manson and his family? Yes. Was it a strong influence from the satanic side? Very, very definitely, yes.
Been investigating this case for almost 11 months now, and whatever is in this house is intelligent. It's focused. It seems to take a very direct and strong interest in impeding our ability to document it. There's suggestions that whatever we're dealing with is potentially malevolent. It took a slice out of my left index finger. It tore a ring off a woman's finger to my right during a seance. And the question is, what do these events represent?
Our search for the devil has taken us around the world. In New Jersey, eyewitnesses claim to have seen a flying devil who stalks the woods at night. In nearby Maryland, a creature who appears as half man, half goat has terrorized the community. For one resident of Wilder in Kentucky, Satan's red eye